I'd like to talk to you this morning about a story that we have all heard probably hundreds of times as believers, as Christians. And this is recorded in John chapter 4, where Jesus met a woman. It was totally unexpected. She had no earthly idea when she left home that morning to draw water that her life was going to be changed. And that's exactly the way it is with us. When we have an encounter with Jesus Christ, I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that have had encounters with Jesus Christ. They had no clue what a change it would make. I mean, old things, old habits, old lifestyles, habits that they said and probably were told by their family, by, psychiatrists, psychologists, professionals with very credentialed professionals I'm talking about, had probably told them there's no way that you'll ever be set free. But let me tell you, one encounter with Jesus Christ can change everything. And this is exactly what happened with this lady that day that met Jesus. You read this in John chapter 4. Jesus had been ministering to his disciples, and that's exactly what Jesus did. He was always ministering. And what does that mean? He was always pouring out of himself, always giving. No greater love hath any man than this, that he give his life. Not only did Jesus give his life on the cross, but he gave his life every day, every morning that he woke up. All during the day, he was giving, sacrificing. And that's exactly what he did for the 3.5 years that he ministered. But Jesus was ministering to his disciples. And in verse 3, it says, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee. But verse 4, notice what it says. But he needed to go through Samaria. Now this caught my attention. Why did it say he needed to go through Samaria? Was there a lack somewhere in Jesus' life? Was there a deficiency? I can't imagine in my mildest thoughts that there was any kind of lacking or needing or insufficiency in Jesus. See, that's not what this is talking about. It said he needed to go through Samaria. Was the need for himself, or was that need for someone else? Yes, it was for someone else. Jesus knew that there was going to be an encounter that day at the well, that someone's life was going to be changed. You see, there are places in life that we need to go through spiritually. Why? Because these places we go through spiritually. Jesus needed to go through Samaria. Samaria, of all places. Why Samaria? The Jews despised the Samaritans. They had no love, no affinity, no feelings of anything for these people other than utter disdain and disgust. They did not like these people. They would go out of their way for miles just so they wouldn't have to go through Samaria. But notice, it says Jesus needed to go through Samaria. The need was not for him. It was for a woman that was going to meet with him there. You see, the Lord allows you and I to go through places, to go through things, to go through situations in our life. Oh my, would you have picked those situations? No. Would you have picked that trial? No. Would you have purposely got up one morning and say, you know what, I'd like to really go through a trying time today that is going to last me for I don't know how long. You know, some of the trials that we go through, these valleys of the shadow of death, we don't tiptoe through that valley. We don't race through that valley. Oh, if we could only just get in that valley and speed through that valley of the shadow of death. But no, he said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. You see, we would never wake up in one morning and say, I want to go through this trial. I want today to be one of the biggest trials of my life. But you see, Jesus needed to go through Samaria. I'm telling you, there are places in your life, whether you realize it or not, you need to go through that place. Why? Because God is going to teach you things in that experience that you cannot learn through a book. You cannot learn by sitting in a class. No 10-step program is going to teach you what you are going to be taught through these times when God brings you through these trials. Oh, Lord, I don't understand. I thought that becoming a Christian and living for you was going to be the high road. There would be no low road. There would be none of these kind of things that I've experienced. No, when you become a believer, let me tell you, whether you understand it fully or not, you've got a target on you. There is a target. Yes, the enemy is always going to go for the anointing. When he sees the blessings of God upon your life, don't tell me that the enemy cannot see spiritually that God has his hand on you. If when God places his hands on you and the favor of the Lord is upon you in the spirit world, it is always noticed. Jesus needed to go through Samaria. The things that you're going through right now and that you will go through, the things that you have gone through in the past, whether you know it or not, they were needed. I didn't say they were liked. I didn't say they were appreciated at the moment. Oh, but they were needed because that is where you grow. The pruning, which is, God only prunes those that have been chosen. And those that are producing fruit, he prunes them so that they can produce more fruit. Jesus came to a city of Samaria, and he was near the plot of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied from his journey. Have you ever been weary from your journey? Well, of course you have. Jesus became weary from the journey. Do you think Jesus ever just got tired? Yes, he did. He healed the sick. He raised the dead. He opened blind eyes. He made the cripples to walk. Jesus was busy doing the work of his Father. And you know, Jesus became weary. The scripture says not to become weary in well-doing. Yes. When we see ourselves getting to the point of exhaustion, you know what we need to do? We need to do what Jesus did. Well, in this case, he found a well that he sat down by. There was times that Jesus just withdrew himself from the crowd. He withdrew himself from the disciples. He said, look, fellas, I'm out of here. I'm going to be gone for a while. I'm going to go to that mountain. I'm going to get alone with the Father, and I'm going to pray. I'm going to the wilderness, into the desert. I'm going to get alone with the Father, and I'm going to pray. I'm telling you, when you feel yourself becoming drained, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, find a place that you can get alone with God. When you become weary and exhausted, mentally and spiritually, emotionally, you're drained. Get alone with God. Jesus sat down at the well. He was weary from his journey. Verse number 7 says, a woman of Samaria came. A woman of Samaria, of all things. The very people that had nothing to do with Jews. She came to that well. Do you think that was divinely orchestrated of God? Absolutely. She came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." Well, I'm telling you today, there's times when you just need a drink. You need a drink from the fountain. Come unto me, all you that are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Weary, being crushed by the cares of life. You ever felt that way? You're just being crushed. There's a weight upon you that you can't seem to shake. This woman came, and Jesus said, "Give me a drink," because the disciples had gone into the city to buy food. You talk about a shock fest. This woman, sometimes the Lord will do things to shock your sensitivities. Whoa! I didn't see that coming. I never saw that coming. God has ways of just shaking you out of your slumber, your lethargy, your laying around. He shocked this woman. The fact that he even spoke to her. The woman of Samaria said, "How is it that you, being a Jew, would ask a drink from me, a Samaritan woman?" The Jews look at us as dogs. It's not just that she was a Samaritan. It was also that she was a woman. There was a culture thing there as well. But Jesus has never been politically correct. Never was, never has been, never will be. Jesus looks down and he looks into the heart of man. He looks into the need. He sees you where you are. And he saw this woman. He didn't care that she was a Samaritan. He didn't care that she was a woman. He didn't care. All he cared about was her need. She said, "Why would you be speaking to me?" The Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. Jesus said to her, "If you knew the gift of God," I'm telling you, you and I, sometimes the gift of God is right there in your face. You're looking at the problem. All you can see is the problem. All you can see is the trial. All you can see is the situation. All you see is lack. But Jesus is looking at you. He's like that time when he was out there on the water. The disciples thought he was a spirit or a ghost or something. And they were scared to death, thought they were going to, not only were they in a storm and about to drown, but now they're seeing a ghost walking on the water. Jesus said, "Don't be afraid." I'm telling you, we look at things, we see things, and all we see is the problem. Jesus said, "If you knew the gift of God, if you only knew who it is that's talking to you, who it is that says to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. The water in that well will not satisfy. The water of this world will never satisfy. All it takes is one phone call and your peace is gone. You're happy? All it takes is one knock at the door. Your happy hour, your happy time, your happy moment is gone. Se fue. Adios. It's gone. He said, "If you only knew, you could drink from this living water." The woman said, "Sir, you have nothing to draw with." You see, that's the problem. All she could see was lack. She said, "You don't even have anything to draw with." I don't have anything. You don't have anything. All she could see, she didn't see abundance. Let me tell you something. When you're serving God and when you're a child of God, you're not looking at lack. I don't have. No. You're looking at Jesus. This woman did not realize who she was talking to. She was looking at God manifest in the flesh, the creator of the universe. And what does she say to him? you don't have anything to draw with. Oh, and by the way, the well is deep. Oh, yes, the well is deep. And so is your well. And so is my well. And the world does not have anything that you can throw into that well and draw from and ever be satisfied. Nothing. Money, power, fame. There is nothing in this world. I don't care how many buckets, they're all empty buckets, and the well is deep. Well, it's too deep because it's a bottomless pit, a bottomless well of nothing that you can never, ever find what you're looking for. She said, "Where do you go to get that living water?" She was looking at it. She was looking at Jesus in the face. Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well? You know what the world is giving you? The world gives you religion. Our father Jacob gave us this well. And you're telling me there's somewhere else out there that's greater than our father Jacob? I was raised in this denomination. I was raised under this type of teaching. I was raised under this type of doctrine. And you're telling me you've got something better than this? Oh, yes. His name is Jesus. Where do you go to get this water? She said, our fathers drank from this well. Our father Jacob himself drank, as well as his sons and his livestock. Now notice what Jesus said in verse 13. He answered and said to her, whosoever drinks of this water will thirst again. You can never be satisfied. It's like drinking salt water. It's like drinking water from the ocean. No matter how much you drink, you're still thirsty. But he says, whoever drinks of the water that I give, he will never thirst. The water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain. See, that is what happens when you put your trust in Jesus. When you get this word into your heart and into your spirit, into your mind and into your soul. When you spend time in prayer, when you spend time with God alone, what happens is what Jesus described here in verse 13. He says, the water that I give will become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life. And what was her response? She said to him, sir, give me this water. Give me this water that I may not thirst, nor come here to draw. I want this water that I can drink of it so I don't have to come back to this well. Let me tell you something. When you get that fountain of living water springing up, when you get in need, you get thirsty, it springs up. When you get hungry, it springs up. When you get dry and you feel lonely and you feel unloved or unappreciated, unneeded and unwanted by the world, you draw from the well. Why? Because the well is in you. It springs up. It's an artesian well from heaven. It is an artesian well from heaven, springing up within your soul into everlasting life. I want this water so that I will never have to come back to this well again to draw. Well, let me tell you, once you get that well springing up within your soul, you'll never have to go back to those old dead wells of your past. The past is gone. Jesus is new in your life. His mercies are fresh every morning. God bless you.